Welcome to my quick first impressions of the A7 III. I just got this thing in. I've been shooting with it for a couple of weeks now, and I want to share with you my top 5 reasons on why you should consider upgrading. So if you're coming from the A7 II, the A7S II, or like myself, the A7R II, I am here to tell you that I do not regret my decision at all, even though it may seem like a downgrade. There are just certain things that I need as like a videographer in a camera system that the R2 didn't provide, that the A7 III actually fills those gaps. The first reason, and probably the most important reason, is the battery life. The NP FZ100 batteries that are powering this camera system are just phenomenal. To sum it up, it's just awesome. Picking this camera up, you would think that you would need multiple batteries. I was a little bit hesitant to go out and shoot with just one battery. I went out on 100% and shot for like 2 or 3 hours and came back and it was only at like 80%. I was absolutely flabbergasted. This is a game changer, and in and of itself, the number one reason to upgrade to this system from previous versions is the battery life. Number 2 is the focusing system. There's 93% coverage of this full frame sensor, and I think there's 693 points of focus, and it flies. It's fast, it's quick, it captures everything, even in single shot mode, or it grabs focus quickly, and it just, if you have face detect on, holy crap. And then you pair that with the eye autofocus, it just works great. And even with like adapted lenses, it does a really good job, especially in photo mode. If you're interested in seeing me compare 3 adapters, hit the card up here, and that'll take you to the video that I did where I compared them on the A7 III and how well they did. The number 3 reason, and probably one of the most useful things that I found, is the ability to jump in and out of APS-C mode and full frame mode with the click of a button. Sony's menu system has definitely improved. I've heard a lot of complaints of how confusing it is, but if you spend some time like actually reading the manual and getting to understand where Sony is storing these things, it's really not that big of a deal. Especially when you can customize pretty much all of the buttons on this system, and you can build my menu. I don't understand the complaints of how confusing the menu system is. You literally find the settings that are most important to you, assign them to my menu, or go even a bit further and assign them to a custom button. Additionally, they have the function button that you can jump into a secondary menu where you can assign multiple custom functions or menu options. Number 4 is probably the S and Q settings, so the slow and quick. It is included on the mode dial, so you can flip between regular shooting and go into those. One thing that's really awesome about that is that if you set it to 120 frames per second, the camera does all the work for you in the processing realm, and it delivers either 24 or 30 frames per second final file, and it's all in slow motion for you. That's really cool, and it speeds up my workflow quite a bit, and I can see it doing a lot of work for me in that area. One thing that's bad about that though is that when you flip into those settings, you lose face auto detect, so it's not going to focus on faces any longer, but you don't lose the capability to autofocus, and that's something I can't say in the Canon C200. If you jump into 120 frames per second, you lose all control of the dual pixel autofocusing system. So there is that. I mean, that's a significant inclusion, and it fills that gap that I need when I'm out on my own and shooting. And finally, number 5, the low light performance of this camera is mind-boggling. I mean, whatever they're doing with their sensor technology, keep doing it, Sony. I mean, you guys are really killing it out there, and it's just, I'm not an expert in low light shooting, and I don't consider myself an expert in any way, shape, or form when it comes to cinematography, but when I take this camera out, it's so lightweight, battery's there, has all the quick options, so I can flip and switch and do everything, and I can finally spend time focusing on what it is I'm trying to create instead of flipping through the menu systems or dinking around with buttons or something like that. And at an entry price of about $2,100, and I say $2,100 because you're going to have to get yourself a charger because it doesn't come in the box. So the $19.99 MSRP is kind of facetious because you are going to need a charger. And I would recommend getting the Sony branded one because it charges the battery a lot faster than what third-party options are out there. I'll leave it all linked in the video description if you want to check those out. I have both of the chargers that are linked in the description, and I will say that the Sony branded one, or the OEM one, works heads and tails above that cheap one. So you've already spent $2,000 on this camera system. Just spend a little bit extra and get an extra battery and that Sony charger, and you're off to the races. I'm going to reserve my final full review of this camera system. I was just really excited to share my thoughts with you and my first impressions, and also give you some ideas if you're on the fence of kind of upgrading. I will say to you that I think if you're even on the fence and you're thinking about upgrading, the sooner you do it, the better, because prices are going down on the Mark II series of cameras. If you are on an A7 II, this is definitely worth an upgrade. I will say if you're on the R or the S line, it's still worth some thought, but the battery, my goodness. And the focusing system, the usability, and the price tag. I mean, you could literally, if your camera's in good shape right now, you could probably sell it for about the cost of this camera system. Food for thought. If you're interested, shop through the link in the description. That is my affiliate link, and all that costs you nothing to do, but it supports me immensely and helps me produce videos like this for you. Well, that about does it for me in this one. If you like this video, please feel free to give me a thumbs up. If you didn't, you know what to do. Thank you for taking the time to watch. I am Tomas, and I will catch you in the next one.